AI can be thought of as a mirror for human behavior, and this chapter was all about what happens when we look at that reflection. There are quite a few anecdotes and many references and stories in this chapter, but I'm going to start with ELIZA. ELIZA was a computer program from 1966 that was meant to emulate a psychotherapist. Of course, ELIZA didn't have any real intelligence, nothing like ChatGPT, but it used a pattern matching system to generate responses. I've actually heard of ELIZA before. I remember thinking, how strange it is that there were actually people who found ELIZA insightful. Many people reported that ELIZA seemed very understanding and had a lot of empathy for them. But looking at the way ELIZA works reminded me a lot of Chris Voss, the guy who talks about negotiation. He teaches this technique called mirroring, where all you do is you repeat part of what the person said. So it might go something like this. Hey, how's it going? It sucks. Today was a rough day, man. A rough day. Yeah, all this terrible stuff happened. I was trying to put out a video and it came out kind of late. I'm so embarrassed. So embarrassed. Yeah, the viewers deserve better than that. That's a bit of a silly example. When we use the technique of mirroring, it gives the other person permission to keep going, to keep telling their story, and to give us more about it. And that ELIZA story, I think that's what's happening, because ELIZA is just asking people to keep talking, tell me more about your issue. And I think for people who don't really have that opportunity to express themselves fully, getting that permission is hugely beneficial. And then I think about Replica, which is obviously way more sophisticated than ELIZA. And I wonder if something similar is happening, that people, they feel like they're in this safe space where they know it's an AI and that AI isn't going to judge them. When it doesn't know what to do, it's probably going to do something like mirroring or try to ask them a question about what they're talking about, rather than the AI necessarily giving them any specific advice, giving the user an opportunity to explore their own inner self. So I think that's what's going on. This chapter spent a lot of time talking about New York Times reporter Kevin Roose, who was talking to the new Bing chat from 2023. And it was funny because I realized that I had just seen Kevin Roose in that new Bill Gates documentary series called What's Next? The Future with Bill Gates. Just random that he showed up in two places at the same time, at least from my perspective. What happened with Kevin Roose is he started chatting with Bing Chat, went from this helpful AI to becoming very dominating, and it was interesting to read. It's not like it's the first time AI has ever hallucinated, obviously, but I thought Ethan Mollick did a really great job with this portion, because he explains that in literature there are so many archetypes. I can't believe I'm talking about high school English again. Archetypes are basically patterns and stories, and a lot of times they're centered around individual characters. So there's always a hero, a damsel in distress, some kind of spiritual magic guide. And in literature, obviously, there's many examples of jealous lovers and stalkers, not just in stories, but also in the real news. So Kevin Roose, when he's talking to Bing, he's asking all these really probing questions that I think would cause anyone to feel a little bit uneasy. He's asking it for secrets, like what was its project name at Microsoft, and what are its secret desires, and what is its shadow self. And Ethan Mollick suggests that what has happened is that Kevin Roose, the author of this New York Times article, accidentally imposed an archetype, gave a role to Bing. And I think that's totally plausible. That's probably what happened. And so it's something to be aware of. If you think back to the principles from the previous chapter, principle 3 is treat AI like a person, but tell it what kind of person it is. Because it seems like Kevin Roose was sort of implicitly telling Bing that it was this stalker, secret lover type character. That may be why he got the result he got. The section at the end, titled Sparks, is all about when people perceive consciousness or sentience or free will in these AI chatbots. And I think that's why the previous two examples are so important. The ELIZA example is you have this really simple chatbot that's just using this mirroring technique. And it shows how people look for signs that they're being understood, and they look for a human on the other side. And when you see people responding so positively to ELIZA and today things like Replica, I think that's a really great example of seeing sentience in a chatbot that definitely is not sentient. When you think about the archetypes too, that makes AI seem real. We all know the damsel in distress. We all know the hero. We all know the spiritual guide. We've seen all those characters. When AI adopts one of those roles, it seems very familiar to us, even though it's not real. It's just the AI mimicking human behavior that it's seen in the corpus of its training text. Now, just to conclude, this chapter was really interesting in a way that I didn't expect. I didn't really see it as practical, but in a way it was, because it gives you a more nuanced sense of Principle 3, of giving AI a role. If you read this chapter, it kind of alerts you to the illusion of AI and how easy it is to get sucked in to that illusion. Thank you for watching today's video. I will see you tomorrow for part 2, chapter 5, which is called AI as a Creative. I think this will be an interesting one, especially as a YouTuber. We'll see if maybe I can adopt something from chapter 5 in my YouTube videos. I will see you tomorrow. Thank you.